So in this series of videos, we're going to look at the scales of training, a list of things that help your horse or pony go properly. This includes rhythm, suppleness, contact, impulsion, straightness, and collection. This week, we're going to concentrate on rhythm, which is very simply the footfalls that your horse or pony takes in each gait. Now, this shouldn't be confused with tempo, which is the speed at which these footfalls take place. So today, I'm riding a horse called Casper, who is 10 years old and is about to do his first advanced medium. As you can see here, we're just warming up in walk very easily. Now the walk is a 4-beat pace, which means that each leg lands separately from the other one. So as we get ready to slow this rhythm down, we can see that the outside hind lands first, then the outside fore, then the inside hind, and then the inside front leg. Now it's really important in this walk that we have a very clear 4-time beat. That is what's going to get us the best marks. Sometimes in the walk, especially when we have tension involved, this walk can lose its 4-time beat or can become what we call lateral, which means that the outside hind and outside front leg, for example, land at the same time. A little bit further on, we will look at a slightly tense walk and where the walk isn't of the highest quality. Now I'm also looking whilst we're walking, which we will include in some later videos here, that this walk has a nice swing through his back, that his body is moving evenly, and that we form a nice shape with the front legs in sort of a V shape as they come together. Now you'll see this horse Casper is in his double bridle here today. He's just getting used to this, so there will be moments when he potentially comes a little bit behind the vertical. Now we're not overly concerned about that at this point in time. That will develop with his training. Now as we can see here, as he goes onto a long rein or towards his free walk on a long rein, we're really aiming for the rhythm to not overly change. We're hoping that the length of stride will get longer and that we'll get a greater overtrack. That is that his hind leg steps slightly further forward than the footfall of the imprint of his front feet. Now, as we shorten the reins up here, we start to see that the rhythm of the walk gets a little bit more fragile. By that I mean that the 4-time beat isn't exactly clear. Now this would lead to not such great marks in a test. We're very lucky that Casper does actually have a pretty good walk. But if I had a horse or pony that did this regularly, I would be looking to maybe come into a little bit of shoulder in here or a little bit of leg yield, which we'll look at as this series of videos progresses and moves forward. But here we can see him getting a little bit short. So the activity actually gets a little bit too good and too quick. And then we let him have a nice easy walk again. So here we come into the trot, a nice easy stretching trot to start the session. The trot is a 2-time beat. Where the footfalls land from the outside hind leg and the inside fore at the same time, and then the inside hind leg and the outside fore at the same time. As we can see as we slow the video down here. Now, okay, obviously when we are trotting, we want to be rising up as the outside front leg goes forward. And again, in the trot, we're really looking for the hind leg to come a little bit further underneath him, for him to really think that he's pushing the power from behind and not running and getting too hurried through his forelegs. If he gets a little bit too hurried, we lose a little bit of the engagement. Now, although the engagement isn't a scale of training, it's what we're aiming for through everything that we do to create a connection to the bridle. And as we can see here, he's quite nice and relaxed and a nice, what I would call working trot. And a nice trot that we could keep all day long. He's nice and forward. We have activity and that rhythm of the trot isn't massively changing, especially as we come around the corners and around the turns. And this is something that we will build on as we go forward and within his training. And we slowly start to pick him up a little bit as we head towards our canter. Now the canter is a 3-time beat. The footfalls are slightly more complicated. The outside hind first, followed by the inside hind and outside fore together, followed by the inside fore, followed by a moment of suspension. That gives us a nice clear 3-beat canter. Now, some issues we can have in our canter are that we slightly lose that 3-time beat and they become a little bit almost 4-time or even a little bit 3.5-time in that canter, which means we sometimes get a little lack of energy and a loss of forward momentum. So here we're just going to slightly build on the canter. We're going to ride him a little bit forward and then we're going to bring him a little bit back into the collection. As we go bigger in the canter, the stride gets a little bit longer, but we're making sure that the footfalls of the canter and of the stride don't change. And that's really important, whatever length of stride we're in or whatever tempo we are in, that we still have that really clear 3-time beat in the canter. And we're just going to come onto a circle here. And again, just build on that, opening him up and bringing him back, getting a really clear definition between the lengths of his stride. Now, this is a horse that we're just starting to build towards the collection, which is the pinnacle of the scales of training that we will visit in forthcoming videos. But we're just getting him to try and take a little bit of weight behind. You see there, I just didn't quite keep enough inside leg on to keep the impulsion. But the 3-time beat we don't lose that 3-time beat. Now, we're going to come over our canter pulse here. It's just a little exercise to really make sure that our tempo stays the same. So we're just counting the number of strides over this pole, and it doesn't matter how far apart the poles are. It doesn't matter to begin with how many strides we get between the poles. We just have a really clear marker as to being able to open the canter and bring the canter back again. Now, this doesn't matter if you don't have access to poles. You can use markers. If you don't have markers, use 2 trees. It really makes no odds at all. We're going to make sure we keep a nice straight line within it, but we're just going to open the canter and bring it back. And really, you can challenge yourself as to the number of strides you want to do. And here we're just coming into this pole again. Yeah, he gets a little bit grumpy because I'm just asking him to wait a little bit more. But that's perfectly normal for his stage and his level of training. On the more advanced horses, they would keep a little bit more submission within that. So we just do this a few times, just opening him up, bringing him back. I always try to go forward before I come back. It just creates a little bit of extra energy, but we're still making sure that the footfalls are 3 beats, 3-time in this canter. And then we're just going to do exactly the same again, but in trot. So remembering, trot is this 2-beat pace with those footfalls. It's exactly the same process of we're just going to come in this nice, easy working trot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half, 6 and a little bit steps, which is my baseline for his working trot. Now, I don't mind if they step on the pole or slightly, pop over it or at any point. That's just them figuring out in their education what they have to do. And we do it on the other rein. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a bit. And you see he just pops into canter. I said I haven't measured these poles. I have no idea how far apart they are. That really, really doesn't matter. But you want them probably 20 or 30 meters apart. Just give yourself lots and lots of room to create the exercise and make sure that rhythm stays consistent. And we're just going to come and do it again and count the strides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a little bit. And again, so we're keeping it really consistent on each rein and really making sure that this stays on whatever positioning or whatever movement we're in. So this rhythm has to stay consistent, whether we are in a leg yield, whether we're in shoulder in, whether we're on a working trot on the long side. And even the footfalls we'll see, as we just again open them up a little bit here towards a medium trot, that they have to stay the same. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching the video this week. And next week, we will be concentrating on the next scale of training, the straightness.